Hello, guys. I hope everybody is doing well. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I said that I was going to, get more into, some of the things that's happening in this country. As you guys know, this is pretty much a channel where we talk about pretty much reality shows and things of that nature. But with everything that's happening, in the country, I felt that I would be remiss if I did not share this information with you guys. So I watch a lot of different political individuals on YouTube, and one that I particularly like, and I don't know, you guys may be familiar with him, is Don Lemon. So Don Lemon, he did a great breakdown with everything that happened yesterday, with the helicopter crash and everything that happened in DC. So what I would like to do is I would like to react to Don Lemon's video and exactly what he had to say with regards to this. So I'm going to share my screen here in a minute. Just give me a second here. And then we're going to get into our video.
If you can see there up on your screen now, we have 3 hearings for confirmations. We have Tulsi Gabbard, we have Kash Patel, and then this is day 2 of RFK Jr. And then on the bottom right, you see the very latest reporting from this tragic air crash midair coming out of Washington, D.C. I'm going to take my time. We're going to take our time and go through this. We want to say, and I want to say from the very beginning, this is horrific. Our hearts go out to all of those involved. Can't even imagine what the families are dealing with and the horrible moments of just horror and terror that must have played out in just moments for all the folks who were on board. Upwards of 70, possibly close to 80 people have died. At least we know more than 64, more than 68, because there were 64 people on the plane. There were 3 soldiers on that helicopter. And then we will see if there are others, but that's where we stand right now. So we do want to say, as we always say in these tragic situations, as we get ready for this, that we are sorry that this happened. This is awful. We have to do the news, and we've got to talk about what's going on around this. So while others are, possibly being a bit more restrained because of the mores of broadcast and, just the very structure.
Guys, I want to jump in there too to kind of let you guys also know what's going on. And I spoke about this in my last video. And you can Google this. I always tell people to Google stuff because it's great to kind of know these things for yourself. Donald Trump has sued NBC, ABC, he sued Meta, he sued a lot of people, and they have settled with him. So what you're now seeing as a result is people are running scared. They're little PUSSYs. They don't want to speak up, and they know what actually took place with this helicopter situation, and Donald Trump actually laying and firing people just to bring aboard his cronies. So what you're going to notice is not too many people are talking about it. Of course, us YouTube people are talking about it because we don't give a damn about Donald Trump. He does not pay our bills. So we have freedom of speech and we're just going to speak it. But what you're going to learn is a lot of people, whether it be those big networks, they're not really speaking on the situation. And that is what Don is referring to.
Sure, a broadcast and cable and legacy media, there's a certain veneer or sheen, or that you can't talk about things. It's too political now to be able to do this. And folks are already starting to do some of it, but you can't talk about it. But we are going to talk about it. And the whole point of showing you this, couple things. Showing you what's happening on the screen here is because obviously it's a busy day. We're going to cover all of it. But because it is very, very important. This is an the starkest, most awful indication and example of why these hearings are so important. Why the people Donald Trump appoints and puts in place are so important to this process. It is important for the American people to have the best, most qualified people heading these departments and agencies in our government, because you see the outcome. If there aren't the right structures in place, and that starts at the top, what could happen? The possibility of what could happen. And if there aren't the right people, what could play out in the emergency and the cleanup and the services that need to come after a tragedy like this happens? The Secretary of Aviation has been on the job for mere hours. The Secretary of Aviation is a former reality show personality. What the original reality show, The Real World, on MTV, and then was a Fox News contributor and host, and a lawmaker. But this is why these hearings are so important. We have a tragedy playing out as they are discussing the qualifications of the people who would be in charge of these agencies for the cleanup, or either to prevent something like this from even happening. So we are going to get into it because we can. We are going to play all the language and what all the folks are saying. And right away, again, to show you the difference between the two parties in this. What is the left saying? And working with the agencies and the mayor in Washington, D.C., working with the new the new aviation secretary, Sean Duffy. What is Mayor Bowser doing? Working in conjunction with him. Democrats, our thoughts and prayers go out. We are sorry that this happened. We need to figure out how to take care of the folks involved. Let's get the investigation going to figure out what's going on. What is the right doing? We need to see if this is DEI. Maybe it was a gay, maybe it was a black, maybe it was a woman who's responsible for this. This is Biden's fault. That's what they're saying already. It is disgusting. People want to know why I have such
no accountability. So I really like this video, y'all. It's going to walk it back for you. Even if you didn't understand politics, you're going to understand this video, because what you'll learn is Donald Trump and his cronies took no accountability. He blamed Obama. He blamed Biden. He blamed everyone, of course, but himself.
Harsh words sometimes about these folks who I believe many of them are heartless. That's why. Do you want to know why it's so important to make sure you know what is going on, what you're doing before you start freezing federal funds? This is why. This is why it's important to have people who have experience, who are qualified, in place. Why you just don't yank money out or freeze the government from funding when you have to pay air traffic controllers. You have to have the air traffic controllers going. This is why you don't shut the government down. This is why you say, hey, we need to work on a continuing resolution, a CR, to keep our government funded. This is why you don't play politics with people's lives. Now, look, again, I am not a Democrat or a Republican, but I have eyes and I can see who is being politically manipulative, and who is at least trying to abide by the rules and the structures of our institutions to get things done. May not be doing perfectly at it, but it's the Democrats. So all of this sort of MAGA stuff about our dear leader can do whatever he wants. Okay, you're okay with freezing the government funds. Okay. This is why it's important to know what you're doing. This is why it's important to have a press secretary who knows what the hell she's talking about. On days like today, people want to tune in to the White House briefing and know that they're going to get the right information and know that someone is standing there with some experience and wisdom and knowledge about dealing with our systems and our institutions and with the American.
We in danger, y'all.
American people, someone who has compassion. So if you want to blow by blow by blow by blow of what's happening and you want to do the images over and over and over, that's fine. We're going to show you the images, but we're not going to pretend that people aren't politicizing this already. We're not going to pretend like, oh my God, we can't talk about it now. It's the same thing that we do when there is a school incident. When there is some mass incident, well, we can't talk about the weapons now and control and sensible legislation. We can't talk about it because it's too early. We have to only give thoughts and prayers. You can do two things at once. If you're not trolling, if you're not doing it just to own someone, you can do and hold many different thoughts at the same time. You can say, this is awful. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is terrible. My heart goes out to them. I can't imagine. If this is my family member, I don't know what I would be doing. If I would be crying in a corner or screaming from the rooftops, like what the hell is going on? I don't know. But guess what? It's all appropriate if you are a family member or you know someone, or if you're in one of these agencies or you witness it, to react that way. That's all legitimate. But it's also legitimate for the news media to do their jobs without fear or favor and talk to you about exactly what the American people and our politicians are doing. And that's what we're going to do today. Are you guys ready for it? So let's go. The top of your screen, you see RFK Jr. He's on the hot seat. You see his wife behind him, Cheryl Hines. Yesterday, they held, Democrats mostly held his feet to the fire about his own words that he either denied or tried to explain and backpedal. Did you say it or not? He couldn't answer it. Then you have Kash Patel in the bottom left. Kash Patel, controversial. He's already saying he's going to go after political enemies. They're trying to decide if he should be confirmed. And then at the top right, Tulsi Gabbard, who besides being, she served her country. She was a representative from the great state of Hawaii. The reports are that she is involved in conspiracy theorists, and it is reported that people believe, many members of our government, that somehow Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset. That is, according to the reports, that is what is alleged about her. She has flipped or changed parties from a Democrat to a Republican. She has been very critical of the Democratic Party and of Democratic administrations, even though she was a Democrat. Also alleged that she is a grifter, someone who will change parties just to get to the front of the line quicker, faster. And then on the bottom right, the very sad and tragic news coming out of Washington, D.C. And by the way, I have to say, local media does it so much better than the networks with explaining what's going on where they are. Okay? So let me update you, and then I'm going to play something for you to show you what's happening in Washington. An American Airlines jet carrying 64 people plunged into the Potomac River after colliding in midair with an Army helicopter that was late last night. Recovery teams have pulled more than 24 bodies from the icy water. Officials believe that no one has survived this crash. Some of those aboard the plane which had departed from Wichita, Kansas, they were figure skaters attending the National Figure Skating Championship there this month. Army officials said that the helicopter is a Sikorsky UH-60 Black Hawk, was on a training flight operating out of Davison Army Airfield in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. As federal investigators began examining the collision, officials said that the initial information indicated little unusual about the moments leading up to this crash. The night was clear. Both the plane and the helicopter were on standard flight patterns. That's according to Sean Duffy. Sean Duffy is the newly minted Secretary of Transportation, who said, I said the aviation, I meant transportation. So pardon me, I'll correct myself. Secretary of Transportation, who said there had been no breakdown in communications between the two aircraft and the control tower. We're going to play that communication so that you can hear it. We're going to take you there so that you don't have to sit in front of television all day for tragedy porn. Robert Isom, the chief executive of American Airlines, said the pilot of the jet was experienced. Now, let me give you this important context that I've been trying to tell you when I say, if you don't want it straight, if you don't want to hear the truth, if you want it shiny and glossy and moderated and pearl clutchy, oh, if we can't talk about this.
Kind of reminds you of those MAGA people. They don't want to hear the truth. They're seemingly delusional. This
is not the place for you. We're going to be.
So if you're a MAGA supporter and you're delusional, this is your nice exit.
Respectful, but we're going to give you what is happening so that you can be informed. And to get the message out before you hear it somewhere else, and then you're filled with misinformation, and you start to blaming DEI, and no, it was Biden, and it was all these things that you're going to hear. Okay? Important context. Here you go. Ready? Here's the truth bomb. Last week, President Trump fired hundreds of FAA officials. He fired the TSA head. Are you listening to me? And he froze the hiring of air traffic controllers. And then just this week, he froze federal funds.
Okay, let me break that down for you guys. I did a video, I don't know, I think it was yesterday, and I told you guys about, I mentioned food stamps, Medicaid. Let me break it down for you. Those are all federal programs. So some of you guys, well, I won't say you guys, maybe it was just some trolls. You were saying that that didn't happen. So what he did was he said that that is what he was going to do. However, a federal judge looked at him and his cronies and basically said, are you stupid? So he wanted to do just that. So for all the supporters that support Trump, that don't have jobs, or maybe you do have a job and you just need food assistance or you just need Medicaid, which is perfectly fine because everybody has at some point or another been in a situation where they needed help. The president that you voted for was actually going to make you homeless and hungry.
Still not sure exactly how many people it affected and how many agencies. Let me read that one more time for you, MAGA folks, and for you people who are always, when I call you MAGA brains, who are always making excuses. Let me just read this to you. Are you ready? Now, I say all this. Let me just caveat this. No one's saying he caused this. We're talking about the importance, as I said in the beginning, of the people you see on your screen who are being appointed, the importance of having people in place in government to know what they're doing so that they don't send out a memo from the budget office at
So what he's speaking to is the memo that Trump sent out that said those programs were going to end. So hence, if this man is the president and he's sending out incorrect memos, that should probably ask you, why in the hell is he the president? Because he is clearly incompetent.
freeze his funds, and everybody gets to know what are they doing? How are we going to pay our employees? So don't get it twisted and write and say, Don Lemon is blaming Donald Trump. No, I'm not blaming Donald Trump, but I am giving you the truth and context. This is important. Context is important. As I said, we can hold many thoughts in our mind at the same time. Everything is not black or white. Unless you're a MAGA person and you think it's DEI and it's a black person, then it's black people are to blame.
Y'all know the MAGA people are delusional. I said exactly what I said.
Last week, President Trump fired hundreds of FAA officials, fired the TSA head, and froze the hiring of air traffic controllers. Okay? On Trump's tweet, which was just bizarre, one of the paradoxes of Trump's presidency is that he somehow requires absolute unchecked power, but also seems to think of himself as a passive observer when the government over which he has to absolute power, when it fails in any way. And I'm going to show you examples of all of this. But let me just set the table for you, and we're going to go through this, and we're going to talk. Boy, are we going to talk. Here's a local news. They do such a great job. Again, I do have to give them their flowers. This is how they reported this early this morning.
Breaking news this morning, heartbreak in the nation's capital. That is where a massive rescue effort in the frigid Potomac River has now become a recovery mission following a deadly mid-air collision at Reagan National Airport. Here is what we know. According to the FAA, just before 9 last night, a regional American Airlines jet inbound from Wichita, Kansas, collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter. You can see right now on your screen what appears to be that collision highlighted in this video. Law enforcement says the force of the impact broke the plane into pieces, sending both the jet and helicopter into the icy river.
Officials say 60 passengers and 4 crew members were on the plane and 3 U.S. soldiers were on the helicopter. In the last 90 minutes, and you heard this just a second ago, the D.C. fire chief provided this grim update.
Despite all those efforts, we are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident. And we have recovered 27 people from the plane and 1 from the helicopter.
The organization that oversees U.S. figure skating confirms athletes, coaches, and family members who had just attended a training camp were among the passengers. You might recall the figure skating championships just took place in Wichita. The newly minted Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the Black Hawk helicopter was in a standard flight pattern in the lead up to the collision and was aware there was a passenger plane in the immediate vicinity. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump called the tragedy a, quote, terrible night, saying the situation should have been prevented.
That is a report to set this up. The exact right tone, and they're giving you the context of what happened. This is the newly minted president of the United States. This is his reaction. You saw the tweet there. This is what he said. The airplane was on a perfect. Okay.
So listen to what your president wrote. Now, this is after people have lost their lives. The airplane was on a perfect routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the plane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane. This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good. Now, this is the president of the United States blaming everybody but his clown self and the administration that he hired. So imagine having loved ones on that plane and listening to the dumb president say these things out of his mouth.
Okay. Just leave that up there. Don Lemon, President of the United States. Don Lemon, President of the United States. We are well aware and we have been briefed on the horrible situation that occurred in Washington, D.C. over the Potomac. Let me first state that our hearts, our prayers, and our thoughts go out to all the people involved, and we, the American people, this administration will make sure that every single person is taken care of, their family members, and we got you. We got you. And we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. Under my administration, we are the president of all of America, of all Americans, and Americans of every different stripes were affected by this, and we're going to take care of them. We have your back. We have your backs. I am your president, and I'm going to make sure that we get to the bottom of this. Okay, that's what a President Don Lemon would do. Here is a President Donald J. Trump. The airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good. What? Are you kidding me?
People have lost their lives, and this is his reply. I mean, I know it's not just me that feels like this man, he needs to go.
This is the person that you think is qualified to be the president of the United States? How about being the comforter, the consoler in chief, the person who exemplifies strength and compassion and understanding? I'm not an aviation official. As your president, I'm not, but I'm going to make sure I have the right person in place. I'm not an air traffic controller. I don't know what happened, but I'm going to make sure I have the right people in place to do it. Why on earth would you have a president asking about any of this stuff? Perhaps is he concerned because it happened on his watch that he's like, this is some way of shifting the blame to those people? I'm sure they didn't intentionally do it. Why didn't the helicopter obviously didn't intentionally, a military helicopter? I mean, come on. Why? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter? Isn't that the NTSB's job to figure out? Especially when you consider how quickly this happened and just the horrible nature surrounding this. Video now of the actual incident. And I believe it is from a tower cam or a surveillance camera at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Pay close attention. There are, you're gonna see it. Here it is.
Is the moment when this small plane apparently crashed into a helicopter. You see a fireball, and then, Marla, we see that plane head down towards the Potomac River.
Oh, what an image there. And according to our sister station in DC, WTTG, that in fact is confirmed that a small aircraft collided with a helicopter. They were hearing that it is not a DC police helicopter, and colleagues on the ground say that several people were saying that it was a military helicopter. That information is not confirmed, but according to our sister station in DC, Fox 5 there, they have confirmed that it is a helicopter and a small aircraft that has collided. Again, this is courtesy of the Kennedy Center, the moment of impact.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Do you see how quickly that happened? I want you to take a look at, Andy, re-rack that for me, please. How do I say this? If there's any solace in this, I'm going to say, and I don't mean to, look, don't get me wrong. It's the equivalent of when someone says, look, they passed away in their sleep, right? I've said that when, I've had family members who die. The only thing is that I believe that this happened so quickly that nobody knew. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to be compassionate here, but that gives me solace that it wasn't minutes of, oh my God, oh, what's happening? It's just that it happened so quickly, nobody knew. And that is the only thing that I hope that was the case. Obviously, I wish that it did not happen at all. But if I'm going to be in something like this, I hope it happens so quickly that I have no idea, that I just don't know. And if I had a family member, I'm just saying me, not everybody, you guys may not feel. You understand what I'm saying? Thank you. I'm glad you guys understand. The folks in the chat seem to understand what I'm saying. So prayers for everybody, the family, but I just hope that there was no pain, no suffering, no nothing. Just, that's what I hope. We understand. Thank you, guys. Completely agree. Thank you. Now, the control tower. Before I get to all the politics, and I just want to show you, right, what happened. Nobody knows. They're still trying to figure it out. I'm going to get to the politics of it, the playing politics. Here is audio as it was happening from the air traffic control, or right after it happened.
S25, CRJ in flight. S25, F1 is CRJ. This club has an aircraft in flight for separation.
Is that the only audio?
472 Washington Tower, 1 star, 32017.
This is as it was playing out. So there are gaps in the audio, but this is all real-time stuff here.
472, American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, claim maintain 3000.
So again,
right.
that was audio between.
That was the audio that was between the control tower and I believe the helicopter. And there was one where they were asking him asking whoever was on the helicopter if they had, or piloting the helicopter, if they had sight on this regional jet. Is that all the audio we have, Andy?
We have another audio dispatch we can listen to.
Okay. This is a dispatch after it happened, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, let's listen to see what it is. Here we go.
Towers reporting a CRJ and helicopter crash into the Potomac River.
Advised there's a helicopter in the water. Been found by boats retrieving injured. They're looking for the aircraft at this moment.
Okay, so there you go. They're looking for the aircraft, and there's been a tragic incident. Now, again, the importance of having people in these roles. Sean Duffy is the newly minted
And let me kind of jump in there. The reason why he continues to say it's important to have the correct people in these roles is simply because they don't even know how or what the hell to say, because they are inexperienced. They don't know what the hell they are doing. So the world is piecing this shit together because we have a bunch of incompetent people in the White House.
Secretary of Transportation. He was asked about it. This is how he reacted to the crash and a question about him being the newly minted transportation secretary. Okay. And it's important to have the right people in these roles. Here it is.
It's for Secretary Duffy. Have you been in touch with the air traffic controllers who were in the tower at the time of the crash?
I have not.
You have not. And second question, this is your first several hours in this position. What are your thoughts? What are you feeling right now?
My focus is on those who are impacted on this flight. And again, I've been secretary for a little over a day, and the tragedy that we're going to deal with this recovery, I think is touching everyone's hearts, whether it's here in the greater DC area or in Kansas. And again, I think everyone here.
So apparently he hasn't went through his orientation because he's been there for a day. This idiot don't know what the F is going on. It is clear from his tone. It is clear from his movements. Let's be clear. This man is somebody that Donald Trump appointed to head something, and he don't know his A from his A.
Thinking and praying for those who potentially have lost a loved one. And thank you.
Ridiculous. Even Don don't have nothing to say. This is.
I'm gonna reserve. What do you think?
This is crazy.
This is where I say, what do you think? Now, do you know who the transportation secretary was before, right? Anyone?
I don't know who that was.
Who was the transportation secretary before? Can somebody tell me? Thank you. Now, Pete Buttigieg. Can you imagine Pete Buttigieg's answer in this situation? The one who goes on Fox News and goes into the lion's den and eats their lunch. The one that they said was a DEI hire because he's gay. The one who speaks at least 7 languages. The one who served his country. Why am I saying this? I sure do miss pizzas, made money. I'm just saying, you don't know what you got until it's gone. Here's why I'm saying this, okay? As we watch these appointments, all this posturing playing out, this is what MAGA is doing on the cable news, on the corporate media. Ladies and gentlemen, I am about to reintroduce you to Representative Andy Ogles, who has put forth a resolution that Donald Trump should have 3 terms. Here he is. I believe he's with Maria Bartiromo, by the way, a MAGA herself. And here is what he says.
Reason to believe there was any foul play here?
Well, you know, at this time, you hate to jump to any conclusions. Obviously, we'll look at everything, check all the boxes. You know, I had just taken off from D.C. Before the crash, and of course, it came across my cell phone, and I saw it and was horrified. So prayers go out to all those impacted. But, you know, to your point, I think you have to look at this with eyes wide open, see what happened. You know, human error, was it some sort of equipment failure? Did DEI play a role in this type of thing? So I think you look at it, you go into it with, again, eyes wide open and make sure that something like this never happens. It's been a number of years since we've had an aircraft collision such as this. And so, again, prayers for all those impacted.
Absolutely.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. WTF. Thank you. Are you embarrassed yet, MAGA? Did you guys?
This is an embarrassment.
Did you guys hear that? Linda, thank you. It's disgusting. You got to be kidding me, says Cindy. No, I'm not. DEI, is he crazy? Says Maureen. Yeah. Sick, just sick. Says Spoonie. Mel. Yeah. Shut TF up about DEI forever. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So I don't know if you're going to hear that. That's why we are here. And as I said, you got to hear this stuff. Whether it was DEI, when you have at least 67 people who have sadly perished. DEI. How about WTF is your problem? He's not alone. That one comment is not alone. Who's the representative do we have now? I forget who you told me, Nikki. There's another representative that's blaming other things similar.
We have Ron Johnson.
Ron Johnson. Thank you very much. Here's Ron Johnson.
Expert, and he put all of the blame on air traffic control and the FAA. He said these two businesses, not businesses,
But back this up from the beginning. I want to make sure we get the first words, okay? Back it up from the very beginning. Let's listen.
Line expert, and he put all of the blame on air traffic control and the FAA. He said these two businesses, not businesses,
Pause.
agencies, air traffic control.
You know what she's doing here? He put all the blame on the FAA and air traffic control. Why? What is she doing here? I've sat in that seat and I know what she's doing. Instead of saying what is going on, whatever, what is she doing? This is not Donald Trump's fault. That is what she's doing. Make no mistake about it. All the thing is to blame on these things. And then I'm sure she's not too far from a Biden blame. Rather than what? I'm sitting in the seat. I'm the president of the United States. The buck stops with me. Nope. It is the predecessor's blame. Let's see how she twists this. Let's go. Let's see how
Control and FAA have been broken for years, and that the last administration tolerated that they were unfit, and they allowed it. Your thoughts?
Told you.
Well, I agree with him in his assessment. I'm not exactly sure what caused this, whether it was purely the air traffic control system, but I know it's completely antiquated. It needs to be upgraded. We've known about this for years, and quite honestly, administrations haven't done anything about it. I mean, we're using old technology. We can do such better job. This is exactly, quite honestly, what somebody like Elon Musk could get in here with his effort and really modernize things.
Donald Trump and his cronies. This is, I don't even know what, I don't even have any words left. The president of the United States does not take accountability for anything. He'll blame President Lincoln. He'll blame President Reagan. He'll blame whoever he can blame. But this crazy, mentally ill, deranged lunatic will not take responsibility for anything.
It is not funny, but it's laughable because they're so transparent. They can't even wait for the sun to finish coming up in all parts of the country before they start with the DEI and the Biden blame. Let me give you some very important context. Again, you guys know what happened this week. Froze federal funds.
Froze federal funds. Yep, that happened. It was eventually corrected, but they froze it because they are incompetent People that receive Medicaid, doctors, hospitals were not able to bill, which meant they ran all of those claims through insurances that was declined, and now they have to redo it all over because of the incompetent president and his administration.
And they screwed that up so poorly. A judge paused their pause on federal funds and said, not so fast. Sounds like you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. We're going to pause this. We're going to keep our federal agencies running, and we're going to keep people with their Medicaid, Medicare, services they need, EBT checks, all of that. Hold your horses, Trump administration, not so fast. You guys sound like the gang who can't, you know what, straight. And then they tried to pull a fast one. Then they tried to pull a fast one saying, hey, we just rescinded the memo to OMB. But the other thing is in full effect. And then she said, they took it back to court. And she goes, no, my thing is still in effect. Not so fast. I want to pull up an article that is, I think it was in, I forget which news organization it was, and they are exactly right about their assessment. And there is a quote from a professor who's in there, Tom Shaler. But this is from the Irish Star, and it says, Trump warned about dangerous policy before Washington, D.C. plane crash. Donald Trump's federal hiring freeze was branded dangerous and a risk to aviation safety just days before the American Airlines plane collided midair with a Black Hawk helicopter in Washington, D.C. Okay, now let me go up to, keep going up to where the professor, there's a quote from the professor. Keep going, keep going, keep going. All right, there we go. There it is. Just hours before the Washington, D.C. crash, Thomas Schaller, professor of political science at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, took to X, this is before it happened now, took to X to give a warning about the hiring freeze. And he wrote, and I quote, an FAA employee I know confirms agency already lacks sufficient air traffic controllers. The so-called buyouts and other attacks on federal employees won't help. Remember that fact when the flight delays and these crashes commence and Trumpers start falsely blaming DEI or Biden. This man saw around corners, prescient. He knew what was going to happen, and then that's exactly how it played out. Then he goes on to say, and he wanted to clarify.
Now, with regards to what you guys are seeing on the screen right now, this is somebody that actually was aware of everything that was going on with air traffic control, and he says something is going to happen. He sent this out a day before it all happened.
Schaller has since stated it was merely a coincidence that the crash happened 13 hours after his tweet. As he clarified, he doesn't blame the Trump administration. The crash may have zero to do with stuff Trump administration did this week. I don't know, he added. And then it talks about what the freeze applies to. But still, it's the importance of people you have in those agencies. It's important to have the federal money. It's wow, right? He saw that coming. Now, whether it has, again, not blaming, but the only folks who are blaming right now are the MAGA people, are those guys who are part of the Republican Party. I don't know if we have the tweet or whatever, but that's what he said. Okay? Now, we don't have another full screen, do we, Andy? There were some things that we put in there that I don't remember. I know that we have the, yeah, there we go. Okay. So if Biden fired the heads of the TSA, the Coast Guard, and key aviation safety advisors, and a week later, 2 aircrafts collide, then what would put the blame on him? Then that would put the blame on him, right? This is question mark.
I mean, it's clearly obvious. I mean, you clearly would have to be stupid. And that's a hard stupid to not understand what is going on. Donald Trump fired the heads of the TSA. Biden didn't do this. He did this on, I believe, the 12th. And now yesterday, we got 2 aircrafts that collide. Now, if this was a situation and it was a Biden situation where this happened under his watch, them damn Republicans would be pulling their hair out right about now. So they need to use that same energy.
That's what Marlene Robinson is saying. Don't you think that Republicans would be? I can't say they would be because they're doing it now. They're trying to blame it on DEI and Biden. And if Biden was sitting in that seat, don't you think if he was in the Oval Office, they'd be blaming him right now? Now, I told you we're going to give it to you straight. We can do that because we're streaming, we're on digital. And I want to play for you what the people of America are saying. Not all the people that, look, it's a portion of America. But we know because during the social media, during the hearings, they reference social media so many times during these hearings, especially during RFK Jr., where they played for him things that you said on a podcast, things that you said on social media, all of those things. So social media plays a big role in this. It has an influence now in the country. Some say an outsized influence, but it is what it is. Now, I want you to sit back and listen again. The language here is very direct. If you have kids.
So pay attention, guys. This guy breaks it all the way down. So what you need to do is stop. If you are a Trump supporter, use your common sense. Like, you are serving Donald Trump as if he's a god. Now, from what I understand, is God is the only one who can't make a mistake. But this man is out here doing all of this crazy mental stuff, and y'all still worshiping Trump. Then are you guys like devil Satan worshipers or something? Because at some point you got to have a level of common sense.
I would say cover their ears or take them out. And I want to know what you think about this gentleman. And I'm going to give you a little context, right? I'm going to give you a little context. Here's the context. This happened, and then we also have COVID. Remember, during COVID, the Trump administration did what? Threw out the Obama playbook for a pandemic response. Remember? And then look what we had, how many people died, how many millions of people died. How the country was shut down, how our economy tanked. That is the context. Again, the language is strong, but here it is. Listen.
I want to hear any motherfucker on legacy media or social media tell me right now that this is not the moment for politics. If some shit like this happened where an American Airlines jet with 60 passengers on board collided midair with the DC police helicopter, happened under Joe Biden's watch, Kamalaharris's watch, insert name of a Democrat right now, then everybody on fucking social media, everybody on legacy media would be saying he was a DEI hire. What the fuck is going on? Where is Joe Biden? Where's the president of the United States? What the fuck are they doing? Especially when that president signed an executive order on January 20th, their first day in office, called Regulatory Freeze Pending Review, that would further push their project of Project 2025, that would freeze all hiring so that they can review the people that they were hiring first to make sure that they were loyalists to Trump, which that executive order froze the air traffic control hiring in an organization that already was understaffed. The literal air traffic control agents that would have avoided a situation just like this. And no, Trump has American blood on his hands. 74 of the 79 passengers and crew members died. 4 people in vehicles on the bridge where it fucking crashed also died. But Trump, being a fucking incompetent bozo, signing executive orders that have negative impacts and consequences on American lives is not any fucking thing new. When he gutted Obama's pandemic preparedness system, when he made the hasty decision to throw out the fucking pandemic playbook that Obama had left him, literal 69-page plan called the Early Response to the High Consequence Emerging Infectious Disease Threats and Biological Incidents Playbook, just because he wanted to do it his own way and he wanted nothing to do with the legacy of that black man that was president of the United States. So yeah, add the 79 deaths to the over 1 million that died from COVID under Trump's fucking watch. All of this is Trump's fault.
That's what folks are saying. Now, here's what I say. For those of you who are like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, this guy is blaming whatever, this is how it feels when you are trolling people. MAGA, when you're in here and you're blaming people. Now, look, I don't know if the bridge thing is correct. I don't think that is correct. We will fact check that. We'll just say, look, this is what happens. When things like this happen, in the beginning, there are lots of things that come out when it's breaking news that are wrong, and then you have to clarify them. People aren't giving you misinformation on purpose most of the time, okay? So some of the facts need to be corrected, and as you learn information, you put it out there.
I'm glad he said that because, you know, when can't even get out. When stories are reported, like for instance, I talked about Medicaid and things like that ending, that is because Donald Trump and his cronies issued a memo saying that federal funding was going away and he had put a freeze on federal funding. Now, does he need to say, oh, food stamps is coming to an end? That is a part of federal funding. But then what ended up happening is the judge suspended it. And then they also came back out and say the memo was interpreted incorrectly, which again is a clear indication that they are incompetent, because not only did you put that memo out to the public, you actually cut people from Medicare the same day. Well, I shouldn't say cut people, but he stopped their Medicaid from working. So essentially, if they would have went to the hospital, it didn't work. Same thing.
But where is the lie for what this man said? Because that's exactly what they did. Exactly what they did. This is what Adam Rupar says. Put it out there. He said, this is a headlines from a week ago as an incident near DCA appears to be the deadliest aviation disaster in the U.S. since 9/11. Okay, that's what he says. Trump guts key aviation safety committee, fires head of TSA Coast Guard. The committee will technically continue to exist, but it won't have any members to carry out the work examining safety issues at airlines and airports. Okay. Now let me say this. It's very similar to this, okay? That's very similar to this. Let me just remind you. Do you remember the fires in California a couple weeks ago? Mayor of Los Angeles wasn't there. She was away, but she's still the mayor. And we said here, she is, the buck stops with her. This is how when folks say, you just don't like the Republicans, you don't like the MAGA. No, because we said what? The mayor, it was bad that she wasn't there. And the optics, and that the buck stops with her. Similar to now. There's a correlation. Donald Trump did all of these things that Aaron Rupar said in that tweet. Please put it back up. He did all of those things. And these are the headlines that people will come up with. The optics, the reality, not saying that no one is saying that the mayor of Los Angeles started the fires, that she blew on some embers, but the buck stops with her. She is the boss. She wasn't there. Optically, it's bad. Okay? Now, if you can hold that thought in your head and you can say that, oh my gosh, the mayor of Los Angeles, they weren't prepared to do that, then why can't you say the same thing with Donald Trump? Not her fault. She doesn't control the weather unless, well, maybe if you think, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jewish space lasers, all that. See how silly you sound? The buck stops with the person who is sitting at the desk, the resolute desk in the Oval Office. And this is what that person did a week ago and this week. He got to key Aviation Safety Committee. He fires the head of the TSA and the Coast Guard, and then he also freezes federal funds. I don't know what else. And then up on your screen, we'll put it up. We have this playing out in Washington, D.C. today. You've got someone there are many people who are trying to put in positions. They're trying to put in positions to do what? To lead our government. Someone who has no medical degree, who has espoused conspiracy theories beyond vaccines are bad, and they want to have him head Health and Human Services. They want a person who says that he's going to get back at political enemies and he's going to target political enemies. And they want to put him in charge of America's biggest law enforcement, strongest law enforcement arm, the head of the FBI. Tulsi Gabbard, who has been reported and alleged to be some sort of asset, possibly for the Russian government or foreign government, again, alleged, reportedly. They want to make her the intel chief. The person who is in charge of transportation, who would be overseeing, and will be, and is overseeing what happened today or last night. Sean Duffy started his career as a reality TV star. Sound familiar? Did go on to become an elected official, but then also was a TV personality on Fox News. Umming and awing through a press conference in a position that he inherited from Pete Buttigieg, who they criticized and said was a DEI hire because he is a gay man. Pete Hegseth, who has been confirmed as a Secretary of Defense, has no experience that should put him anywhere near being the head of such agency, a former Fox News host. And you know the rest about all the alleged incidents and what ex-wives and co-workers have to say. He's the head of the Defense Department. And then you have Pam Bondi, who is let me back up, please. Pam Bondi is now going to be the Attorney General, but his first and number one pick was who? Matt Gaetz, who was under investigation at the time and was fighting the release of a report, a damning report, that officials say is true. And the outcome, when the report was released, he thought the outcome was so bad that he had to resign or withdraw his name to become the attorney general. And then he chose Pam Bondi, who originally, years ago, had filed charges or had a lawsuit against Trump. And I think Trump University, correct me if I'm wrong, don't hold me to it was Trump University or the Trump company for wrongdoings. Then he donated money to her campaign. She dropped the charges. Don't know if that's exactly why. It's, we don't know if the two are correlated, but it's fishy. And there are others. You are not going to hear this anywhere else today because it's going to be, well, right now is not the time for this. We need to, right now it's not the time for politics. And I agree. And we should not be blaming anyone. And so what they say happened is this. And rightfully so, though, profiling the family members and the people who are involved in this tragedy. That is the right thing to do. But we can't do this. We can't talk about this. We are, and then I'm sure later on tonight, as it starts to settle in, you will see some crazy MAGA contributor or analyst go on and then blame everything on Joe Biden. And
why are those MAGA people so delusional and crazy and mentally deranged? Like, I see a common thread of people that support Trump. They're mentally slow. Like, I don't know. It's like the MAGA people and Donald Trump. It's just a linkage to stupidity. Did anybody else see that? Or is it just me?
And say if Joe Biden had put the rules in place and no one will say a thing. But if a Democrat did it, they would be in trouble. We need to apologize. Oh my God, that person should be canceled. They need to be fired. Why do we do this? Why can Donald Trump and the MAGA people and the people who control social media sites and all of those people, the MAGA contributors, why can they say whatever they want and nothing happens to them? But the folks on the Democratic side have to walk on eggshells. Something is not right. And how's that saying go? Something is fishy in something. Where's the lie? It's the top of the hour. And let me tell you, if you're looking at the bottom right hand of your screen, and we're going to bring it to you, Donald Trump is going to speak. Donald Trump is going to speak, and we're going to see.
Oh, y'all got to hear this.
What he says. We're going to see what he has to say, if he blames. Thank you very much, Florence of Alabia. Thank you so much. Something is rotten in Denmark. Thank you. It's a bit early for me. I went out we had a friend who had a birthday party last night. Nothing, just out late. No drinking, just out late. Something is rotten in Denmark. Something's fishy here. Double standard. Double standard when you have that. And look, oh my God, look who's up on your screen now. Susan Collins is up on the screen. Oh my God, I am a very strong response and I am concerned. That one. And every time you think like she's going to vote, just be on the right side. And she never is. And people think that, oh my gosh, Thank you, Kim Olay on TikTok. I appreciate it. Those of you on TikTok, make sure you hit the hearts. If you are joining us now and you are on YouTube, which is our main channel that we are broadcasting on right now, or we're streaming on right now, make sure you hit the thumbs up, make sure you hit the like, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and make sure you support independent media. We appreciate it. And that's how we can continue to stream, and that's how we keep the lights on, quite frankly, because we are not part of corporate news with the big corporate sponsorships. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what's happening here. Now, you guys tell me, do you want to see the president? I can go off the air. I don't know. Do you want to listen to his bull? Perhaps today he might not be. I don't know. Don, we're picking up exactly what you're putting down, says August of Winter. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. And by the way, all of you members, thank you for joining and welcome to the Elimination. This is what we do. We give it to you straight. As I say, we tell you the truth. We tell you the truth. Thank you, Kat. Something is not sitting right. Something is not sitting right. Are you being controlled? Are you being censored? Because you know, supposedly the right is like, we're being censored, we're this, and we're free speech absolutists, but are you being censored? When you think about all the parameters, all the things that are in place, the double standards as it relates to Democrats now, are you being censored? Do you guys want to hear him? Do you want to? Well, we'll see. We're just gonna tell some truth. We're just gonna tell the truth. It's supposed to come out at 11 o'clock Eastern time. And so far, he's late. So at the bottom right hand of your picture, excuse me, you are looking at the White House briefing room. And they're getting ready for Donald Trump. Then you see Amy Klobuchar, and then you see Senator Klobuchar, you see Senator Bennett, and then you see Tulsi Gabbard there. Oh, and Senator Susan Collins. I'm strongly, really deeply concerned. And then she votes the wrong way. And Senator Bennett got into you know what yesterday. We call a donkey, and he's getting, oh, that's Tim Kaine, pardon me. And Tim Kaine appears to be doing it now. Shall we listen for a second to see what Tim Kaine is saying? Is that possible?
Other HPV vaccines.
There we go.
I'm going to enter into the record a whole series of studies from many, many nations that talk about the dramatic positive effect of Gardasil. Could I introduce those into the record, Mr. Chair?
Without objection.
And
those studies are
wait, let me ask
right
a question.
now.
Let me ask a question. These are studies from Scotland, Sweden, the UK, Australia, the United States, multiple studies. And then I'm going to introduce in the record, I guess it's a blog post of yours. The verdict is now inescapable. Gardasil is killing girls. And I'd like to introduce that into the record as well.
Without objection.
You have a pretty significant financial interest in litigation against Gardasil. You have received contingency fees and payments for referring people to lawyers suing the manufacturer. And in your ethics vetting,
I've never received any money from any Gardasil or any other vaccine lawsuit.
Let me read a quote. This is your words. In your ethics vetting for this nomination, you said, quote, pursuant to the referral agreement, I'm entitled to receive 10% of fees awarded in contingency cases referred to the firm. How can folks who need to have confidence in federal vaccine programs trust you to be independent and science-based when you stand to gain significant funding if lawsuits against vaccine manufacturers are successful?
I have given away all of my rights to any fees in that lawsuit.
I yield back.